I haven't managed to do my cook along on a Monday at the moment, but if anyone is keen, please get in touch, and it's something I would really like to do. So I was thinking 6 o'clock on a Monday. If you're interested, let me know, and let's cook something together. That'd be fabulous. So today I was thinking, what could I make with you? And thinking actually, I love lentils. I think they're one of the best things to have. They're brilliant. They're full of protein. They're full of fibre. They're really cheap. They are so easy and versatile to cook with. And I often make something called lentil patties, and they come with a recipe I've had for years. But really, I was thinking actually they're a really good way to use up food waste. And on average, a family in the UK waste about 67 pounds a month on food, and it's huge. So if anyone was thinking about a way that they could actually save money on food, then this is one of the meals where it should be ideal. So I've made my mixture because if I wasn't going to, it would take too long. So I'm going to show you how you made it, and then we're going to make it up, and I think hopefully that will be good enough for you. So this in here, this is a mixture. It looks totally different. With a spoon. So this basically, you won't believe it, but this is full of lentils. It's full of vegetables. It's got carrots in it. It's got a yellow pepper. It's got some onion, some garlic. It's got some carrots. So again, ideal for children really, because you can't really see the vegetables, have all disappeared. And literally, I've just put this on the boil, and it's all boiled down, and you can see the lentils have just completely disappeared, and it's all just turned into what we maybe call a great big mush, isn't it? It's just like, so ideally you want this to be as wet as possible, as dry as possible. And the other day when I was making it, and it's funny how things happen when you make mistakes, and I didn't have enough breadcrumbs. So I was thinking, well, what could I do? So actually I'll show you actually what I did. I turned it into a little bit of a pie, and it worked really well. So that's the great thing with cooking. If you make mistakes, it doesn't matter. And sometimes you obviously end up with things that are even better than what you're starting out to make in the first place. So if you cook along and you make a mistake and you know you're not sure, it doesn't matter. It's a concoction. It'll be your concoction, and I'm sure you and your family will adore it. So let me just show you what the lentils look like, because I think you'd be amazed at looking at the mixture and then looking at lentils. So these are the lentils I used. So totally different to what they would be. So red lentils are great. They're full of iron as well, which is absolutely brilliant. And the great things about red lentils is, like you can see, they disappear down to nothing. Where the green lentils are wonderful, but they keep their texture a little bit more. They're slightly meaty. So great. I made a veggie haggis last night for the first time. That was yummy actually. They worked really well in that. They work really well in the veggie lasagna. Whereas red lentils are brilliant. They're more better maybe for soups and stuff like that, especially for our patties. The one thing you've got to remember is red lentils, it doesn't tell you on the packet, but it's really important to wash them, okay? Really important to wash them, because when you start washing them, they have this kind of, not gunk, but it's not nice. The water comes out a funny colour, so you need, just important to give them a good wash, okay? And then whatever vegetables you want to use up. So I looked in my cupboard and I thought, what could I put to use up? And I've actually got some more, which I'm going to make a tomato sauce. I've got I had a bit of celery that needs to be used up. I had a tiny bit of pepper actually, and that was fine. So it doesn't matter if you don't have enough of everything. You can just throw whatever you got in. I had a bit of a courgette, and I had a carrot. Okay, so these are things I had left over that I actually put into my lentil patties. And actually I'm going to use these as well to make my tomato sauce, which I'm going to show you. So, breadcrumbs. Bread is one of the most thrown away foods. It's incredible, and yet people still buy breadcrumbs in the supermarket. I never can work that one out. Okay, so take your old bread that you're just about to throw away and blitz it if you've got a blitzer. If you haven't got a blitzer, it's slightly more complicated. You maybe do it with the potato masher. There are ways you can do it. But if you have got a blitzer, they're really cheap in supermarkets. They're one of the best things that you can have as a piece of equipment in your kitchen, really, and make breadcrumbs. So I've made two different types of breadcrumbs here, okay? And either can just put in the freezer and they will last forever. This is our fresh breadcrumbs, okay? So our fresh breadcrumbs, I'm going to add to my lentil mixture. So I have boiled it down quite a lot because it was quite runny. So that's one good thing actually. If you do have anything that is a bit runny, just boil it down. Don't add any flour or anything to thicken it. Just boil it down, stirring it so it doesn't, hopefully doesn't burn, and just all the excess water will evaporate off, and you'll be left with all the flavours. So I'm going to add some of my breadcrumbs to my mixture, and this is just bread that I had in the bread bin that I knew wasn't going to last. Old bits of loaf, I bought new loaves. So literally I'm just going to stir this up because I want this to be thick. Okay, so add a bit more. And this is brilliant actually. If you want to cook with children with this kind of meal, then again that's absolutely brilliant too. Children get involved, you know, it's especially when they're going to come and make the patties. They're going to because ideally you want them to be cold. This is a little bit hot, but when it's cooled down a little bit, then that's brilliant for children to be getting involved. Okay, so we're stirring that, as you can see that's thickening up nicely, and it'll probably be the right consistency if I have a go to make my patty. Look, there you go, perfect. Okay, actually it could take a little bit more. Let me just put a little bit more in. Okay, actually if I put all of it in, that's fine. So, there you go. Okay, right, big stir. Okay, and therefore we have our patties all ready to go. Okay, fantastic. Okay, let me just wash my hands just a minute. Okay, so breadcrumbs. So that's our fresh breadcrumbs. Okay, so if you're going to make your cooked breadcrumbs, these again are brilliant. These are pretty much, I suppose, what you buy in the supermarket. So these have literally been the same, and all I've done is I put them in a baking tray on a really low heat, and you're just drying them out. Okay, so when you actually want to cook things like your patties, or if you were to make homemade chicken nuggets or fish nuggets or anything like that, that you want a breadcrumb, then really you want to be using these kind of breadcrumbs, because if you use your fresh breadcrumbs, just imagine you put them into a pan with some oil, and all the bread would just take up the oil, and that just really wouldn't be very nice. Whereas these ones are just going to go crispy. So that's just a top tip. Okay, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a plastic bag, and I'm literally going to put my breadcrumbs into my bag. Okay, and then all I'm going to do then is I'm going to try and get the air out, and I'm going to shut it. Just move this behind me for a minute. And I'm just going to take my a rolling pin, and all I'm going to do then is I'm going to roll, okay? Because I want to make them as small as possible. Again, you have great fun with this. You could bash it, get any annoyance out if you're in a really bad mood. That would work too. Again, children could help you. You know, it's you could save up all your bread that you've got, and you could do it in one go. You could freeze your bread, and then you could make it into breadcrumbs. So it's and there you go. That is your easy peasy breadcrumbs. Okay, so these then can be put in the freezer and just used and perfect. So of course, if you wanted to add anything to this, if you wanted to add any flavourings to that, of course you could do that too. So easy peasy way to use up. So this meal is perfect for using up food waste, and it really, and cost wise, it was costing you really nothing. You know, just a bag of lentils is dead cheap, and then any leftover vegetables and leftover bread. So let me just show you how to put them together. So again, really easy. I'm just going to take my frying pan, and I'm just going to add a little bit of oil and just heat that up. You don't need a lot of oil. It's okay, I'll just put my cooker on. Okay, so as our mixture is now quite thick, all we're going to do is we're going to take a bit and we're going to put in our hands and literally we're going to make them into patties, okay? And then on our plate, we're going to pour out our breadcrumbs and literally we're going to coat our patties, okay? And there you have some really yummy, simple vegetable patties, okay? And then the frying pan is starting to heat up, the oil is moving around the pan, and then we can add our, just push them down slightly, you can use your fingers if you want, just push them down. So let's make a couple more. So again, you can use whatever vegetables that you have, it doesn't matter, they'll all disappear if you cook them down enough. If you've got children that don't like vegetables, it's might be quite a good way to hide the vegetables for them, okay? Or adults, they could really yummy. Just to nibble on or to have for lunch. Just take out the fridge. You can make them at the beginning of the week, and you could have them just as an extra, and you can serve them with anything. You serve them with jacket potato, couldn't you? You could serve them with potato wedges, with a salad. Okay. So I've got a few more. Let me just use up the last few bits. Okay. If anyone is listening and wants to talk to me, I'm more than welcome to talk in the chat. Always nice to talk to people. Anyone's got any questions or anything like that they'd like to ask? Okay. So I think I could get one more. So just do one more. And I'm going to show you something else. Okay. I'll just press it over. Okay, right. Actually, I've got one more. Let me do one more. Look, use up the last of the. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Put it in my pan. Okay. Right. So when I went wrong the other day, which was quite amusing really, and I found my new recipe, what I did was I took my mixture that was too wet to make patties, and I put it in the bottom of a dish. It can be any old dish, it doesn't matter. So basically I just put it in my dish, and it just goes to show how versatile you can make things. You could probably turn this maybe into lasagna, or you could add a tin of tomatoes, make it into a pasta dish. I made it into a kind of, I don't know what you'd call it really. So I just pressed this down into my base, and then all I did then was I made a tomato sauce, and I poured it over, and I put it in the oven, and I baked it, and that was absolutely scrummy. And if you had some cheese, I think cheese on top would be yummy too. We don't really eat cheese in this house, but if you did, I think that would be beautiful on top. And if even better, if you crunched up some bran flakes or corn flakes with a little bit of cheese and put that on top when you put it in the oven, that would be absolutely scrummy. So, top way to make a really simple tomato sauce. Again, if we're going to use up, our food waste, is I would grab whatever you've got in the cupboard. And so I had a leek, so I would literally cut up my leek. If you cut that quite small, this one's fine, it doesn't need washing, otherwise you would cut it and give it a good wash. So again, and the great thing about this as well is you're getting all your vegetables, or your 5 a day, which is so important. Every one of these vegetables, remember, has got a different antioxidant, it's got different vitamins, it's all what we need. So the more you're eating, it's fibre, so absolutely brilliant. So just if you have just a tiny bit of pepper left over, don't think you have to throw it away. You can just use that, and that can just still be used. It's perfect. Okay, so we've got a little bit of veggies there. Then I cut up a little bit of courgette as well. I can cut up. I don't think people often use courgette actually, but I think it's a brilliant vegetable that you can have in In the fridge, it just goes in absolutely everything. It just adds more, again, more fibre, more flavour. You don't have to have it on your own. I think loads of people think that when they cook vegetables, they only have to have them on their own, and they just often just boiled, and they can be really not nice. But think about different ways you can cook veggies. We recently found out actually that roasting cauliflower and broccoli was amazing, and we don't do any other way now. It tastes fantastic. And if then you were going to take that and make that into a soup, that tastes even better. So just try around with different ways that you might like to eat vegetables rather than just boiling them. You know, there are different ways. Okay, so these are cooking nicely at the moment. They're not quite brown yet, so I'm just going to leave them to carry a little bit. Okay, so I would add, again, I'm going to just fry my vegetables up a little bit. So I would just add this to the pan. Again, a tiny bit of oil, and I'm going to add my vegetables. Okay, normally you might want to warm the oil up, but I'm on my cooker at the moment. So if I just add my vegetables, and I'm just going to put that over my other cooker for the moment. Okay, so this is a time I was doing a course. I'll be saying, okay, so let's have a chat. Everything's waiting at the moment, and that'd be nice to have maybe a little bit of banter, that people can maybe talk to me. But it's not me on my own, so it's I'm going to have to decide what to talk about. Okay, so I go back to what I'm cooking at the moment. These are, oh, look at that! Can you see that? It looks amazing. Can you see that? So that's going really nicely actually. So I'm going to have these for my lunch. I think it's going to be absolutely scrummy. Okay, so turn this one over as well. So you don't have to. These don't have to be cooked, because obviously everything in them is cooked. So all you're doing is you're just browning them off to give them a really nice a bit of a crunch on the outside, and that's what's finishing them off. And they'll be delicious, either hot or cold. Either they'll be absolutely fantastic. So yes, have a go at playing around with making some lentil patties. So if I then swap over, if I just swap over my dishes just a minute, and okay, so in my pan I have got my vegetables. I just put those on here. So again, making a tomato sauce, you can add whatever that you want to it. Again, it's a really good way of using up food waste. So whatever vegetables you have in the fridge, you can add it. If you wanted to add your carrot, that's fine. Carrots take slightly longer to cook, so just bear that in mind. But if you were to grate your carrot, then that's brilliant actually. So actually, a grated carrot, unfortunately, it does make a bit of a mess, but it's not the end of the world. And but make sure it cooks so much quicker. So actually, we grate a carrot, and the carrot then disappears. So just watch your fingers, because graters can be a bit nasty. So if we just grate our carrot a little bit, okay, and then we throw that in, then that's going to cook nicely too. Courgette is brilliant for grating too, actually. Both of them grate really nicely. If you're going to use your celery, again, celery takes quite a long time to cook. So you can't grate celery, but what you can do is you can cut it really small. So if I just show you again, so if you're just going to cut your celery and you're going to cut it, that's not quite small enough really, but what you're going to do is you're going to take your knife, and you're going to use the whole of your knife, and literally you're going to go around it, and that is going to cut it really small. And once you've cut it really small, you can then add it, okay? So that's basically going down to nothing. Okay. And I can add that to my pan, okay? So, my pan is now sizzling, as you can see that. Okay. So, when you're then cooking, that is then totally up to you. What you would like to add. If you want to add some garlic, that would be ideal. You could add some garlic. Remember, it burns really quickly, so add it towards the end of what you're doing with your vegetables, okay? A stock cube I always think is really important in a sauce. It just gives it some extra zing really, and just it doesn't need to be stock. You can add bouillon as well. So I've got both. So I've either got stock cube or a little bit of bouillon. You can buy the Swiss one as well. Just be careful, they're quite full of salt. Okay, so just bear that in mind. I think quite a few people add soy sauce. We actually added some soy sauce to our lentil patties, but just remember that soy sauce is really full of salt as well. So if you add that, you don't need any more. Okay, so we just literally going to be again frying up our vegetables, and we just want to fry them off just to make them a little bit soft, because when we add the tomatoes, it's going to cook. So the vegetables are going to cook actually in the sauce. So we just add a tin of tomatoes to that, and then a little bit of stock, and then that then is our tomato sauce. So sometimes tomatoes can have a bit of acidic taste. So often you might want to add maybe a little tomato puree, maybe a tiny little tomato ketchup, maybe a bit of balsamic vinegar, or sometimes if it's a bit tart, add a little bit of sugar. It just takes away that tartness of the tomatoes and makes it a really nice flavour. So we're going to add our tomatoes. First, the tin's not opening. Okay, just turn that down so I'll show you. That's all sizzling away, a bit hot, but that's all going to reduce down beautifully. And then I'm going to put some water in my tin because I want to get all that tomato. I'm not going to get rid of that. So I'm going to pour that into my. So use most of it in my tin. And then if I just add a bit of my stock, okay, give that a big stir, and then I can just add some mixed herbs to that as well. Really important to have some flavour. Okay, so I'm just going to put some of my mixed herbs in, and I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper. Okay. And that basically is my sauce. So I'm going to let that simmer away. So again, I don't know, maybe simmer for about 15, 20 minutes. Really down to you. These are, I thought they were chopped tomatoes, but they're not, they're actually whole tomatoes. So they will need to be cooked down. Or you could, if you've got your hand blender, then again, a perfect time to use your hand blender, and then you make it go smooth. And again, if you're cooking with children who don't like vegetables, again, it's another way to maybe hide the vegetables if they're able to be hidden. And that's brilliant. So tomato sauce, really simple. Use it with any veggies you've got to use up food waste. A tin of tomato is brilliant to have as one of your staples in the cupboard. If you didn't have tin tomatoes, you could use fresh tomatoes. Because if you use fresh tomatoes, it's always a problem, isn't it? But it's really be careful with the skin, because the skin comes off, but you can cook them actually, and as you cook them you can just get a fork and just take out the skin, because the skin really isn't you don't want to eat the skin on tomatoes. It's really not, it just leaves it horrible anyway. So tomato sauce, brilliant. You can so have them with your patties to one side. You can, I'm going to put them, again, this is what I made the other day, my concoction, my tomato sauce on top of my lentils. And I'm just going to put that in the oven for, I don't know, 10 minutes just to heat it through. And that is absolutely scrummy. And it kept actually in the fridge for a few days, and we had it cold and it was still really, really nice. Or just have a simple tomato sauce, have it with on pasta, or you could make that as a base for your pizza. Oh, there are so many ways once you've made your tomato sauce what you can do with it. Put some chicken in it, make a pasta bake. Oh, so many things. Okay, so thank you so much again for joining me today. I really hope you've found it useful, and I will be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and I haven't decided what we're cooking yet, but anyway, so I hope to see you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.